and welcome back to Leicester's The Place with me, Gerry Taggart. And let's face it, it wouldn't be the same without my old sidekick. So much so, we're even wearing the same shirts. Yes, it's the swamp monster himself, Big Matt Elliott. Now, it's fair to say that in regards to myself and Matt, we have reached the pinnacle. We have a guy here today that has to go down as one of the most successful managers in the club's history. Yes, it's the one and only Martin O'Neill. Martin, welcome to Leicester's The Place. How are you doing?
I'm great, Gerry. How are you?
Yeah, very well. It's a real coup to get you here, so thanks very much for coming along and agreeing to do this.
No, cheap at the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not a problem.
Matt?
Welcome, Martin, first and foremost.
Matty, how are you? Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure as always to see you. You must be pretty impressed with Gerry there with his intro.
I thought it was excellent.
Slick,
Really excellent.
slick.
Considering when I signed him, he couldn't speak English at all. No. But, no, great.
Listen, I feel like I'm going back in time on a journey to the headmaster's office, waiting for 6 of the best.
Yeah.
Hopefully that won't happen today. But yeah.
Yeah, time's moved on, Gerald.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to? Well, we're just getting that stage where I feel brave enough to call you Martin, not Gaffer.
That's fine.
We've
Absolutely
evolved.
fine.
We've evolved to that level
fine.
now.
Not at all. That's
All right, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't want to get told off at the very outset. But yeah, ordinarily, Martin, when we have guests on the podcast, we go through their whole career pretty much, sometimes from start to end and ongoingly. But with yourself, there's that much that you've done throughout your career, both playing and managerial. We're going to focus primarily on your time, understandably so, at Leicester.
Absolutely. This is,
Okay.
terrific.
We'll probably jump forward and backwards a little bit and drop the odd question in, but the main focus will be on your time here at Leicester as manager and what a successful period it was as well, and one that myself and Gerry, fortunate enough to be involved in. I suppose the obvious question regarding your time at Leicester is just prior to that, how did it come about at Norwich City, the move to Leicester in the first place?
Right, okay. So when I was at Wycombe Wanderers, I was approached by Martin George about being the manager here at the time.
Oh, right, okay.
And then the thing fell through. I think Martin just eventually thought, well, I'll go somewhere else, I think, instead. I leave Wycombe Wanderers, go to Norwich City, and funnily enough, we play Leicester in a game. This would be about September time, and the two teams were pretty evenly matched. Norwich City had just been relegated the previous year. I think Leicester might have been in the same situation, and so both trying to find their feet in what is called the Championship now, which was probably the first division then, and so I was having, I wasn't getting on fantastically well with the chairman, Mr. Robert Chase, unfortunately, who's died just less than a year ago, at the Norwich chairman. But then again, I think that might be something that's pretty regular with me, not getting on with too many chairmen.
Yeah, you got there before I did.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. As Alan Parry, the football commentator, once said, Martin, you would resign if someone nicked your car parking space. So there's probably a lot of truth in that. I'm rather cantankerous. But anyway, so Martin was losing. He was losing Mark McGee to, this was, let's say, this was about December time. He was going to be losing Mark McGee, who was the manager of Leicester, to go to Wolves.
Wolves, yeah, that was controversial in itself, wasn't it?
Exactly. And I think then, and I asked me, would I leave Norwich City and come here? And actually, it's the first contract I really broke in my whole time. And I came here. I came up. But it was full of controversy. Number one, the crowd were in uproar, really. First of all, they'd lost Brian Little a couple of years earlier. Mark McGee is going, and now, and I think they would probably have seen me not so much really as a manager, but really as the next player at Nottingham Forest, perhaps at the time.
It didn't help.
So that probably didn't help a great deal. But Mark leaves, crowd are in uproar, and I sign here with Martin. Really, Martin was the one that brought me along, Martin George, the chairman. But I didn't realise the backdrop to it all, because Martin was having, there were a number of directors who didn't want me at the football club.
Even at that stage?
Very early on,
Yeah.
because they thought that Mike Walker, who used to be in Norwich and also at Everton, they thought that he was going to become the manager. In fact, Mike actually came here. The irony of it all was the day that this was a Sunday, and Norwich City were actually playing at Filbert Street against Leicester. And I'd resigned on the Sunday morning. I went to Melton Mowbray, where the directors of Norwich were staying, handed in my notice, then skedaddled, got out of there just as quickly as possible, and actually watched the game. And thankfully, Leicester won the match 3-2, because those points were really important come the end of the season.
Of course.
Anyway, okay, so I get the job. Mike's a bit befuddled by it all, and
so you were just... Sorry, you were due to be in charge of Norwich.
I was due. Well done. Okay, I wasn't explaining that. That's correct. I was.
But you were in the sort of
exactly. So
hovering in between.
Yeah. So Martin takes me on anyway, and listen. Regardless, you're trying to win some football matches. I'm not able to do that early on. I think the opening game was at Grimsby. We drew 2-2. A couple of draws in that. Then we played an FA Cup game against high-riding Manchester City of the Premier League, and we drew here at Filbert Street, and then we got crushed at Main Road in the game. So all of those things didn't help. The pitch, there wasn't a blade of grass in the pitch either at Filbert Street, you know, and we had a game scheduled for Boxing Day against Ipswich, and we put down a tarpaulin the night before because there was going to be a frost, and the groundsman, you know. Nice lad, the groundsman. I'm not so sure you could describe him as a groundsman. But anyway, he
there was a butt coming along.
He lifted the tarpaulin in the morning, and just any last blade of grass would come up with it like sticking plaster just to fill it. The referee had one look at the game or one look at the pitch and said the game's off. You know, it was just rock hard. So the point I'm making here, that from that was Boxing Day. Mm-hmm. So from then on into essentially April, not a blade of grass in the pitch. So that's sort of my excuse for the football that I was going to be serving up. Okay. Anyway, so we can't win a game, and in the 10th match we finally won after 10 games. And I know I'm including a couple of cup games in that, but 10th game, and the irony of it is that we actually beat Wolves at Molineux. By which time a couple of my players had gone to it. There's a little lad called Steve Corrigan here, who was a bit of a hero.
Was he Aussie?
He was an Aussie lad, a bit of a hero, really, with the Filbert Street crowd. I have no idea why, but he came into.
Let's hope he's not listening. Or watching.
Yeah, couldn't care less. And he came in. He came into my room after about 4 or 5 days. Saying that he wanted to leave to go to Wolves. And I said, well, okay, Steve, if that's what you want to do, but Wolves have to contact me first of all, you know. Yeah. In fairness, they did do, and he left. And that probably didn't help a great deal, because he was a bit of a hero with the crowd. Mm-hmm. And that's that. And going to Wolves as well too was like
following McGee, etc.
Exactly. So anyway, the whole thing culminated on the 30th of March in 1996.
Who's the other player? Sorry to interrupt, Mike.
The other player was a big goalkeeper, Zelko Kalic, was going to go, but then came back again because they couldn't get a work permit.
I'm getting confused with Ewan Robert.
Ewan Roberts.
He already gone?
Ewan left later on.
Right, later on.
Okay. He left.
He scored in that game, didn't he? In the 3-2, did he?
I think he probably did.
And I think Emile scored one
Emile
or two.
scored.
That's
Emile
right.
Scored,
and I think Ewan scored the other one.
I think that's right. Well done.
Statistician has got it right.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry.
So no, and so Zelko was going with him, didn't get a work permit there, and came back to us. And the significance of that is important just at the end.
Yeah, come to that in a bit.
So anyway,
was that the turning point? Would you say? In that season, you know, that game, that one game, or
no, absolutely not. I thought it would be. I thought we also, having won the game at Wolves, the pitch was, the rain had just bucketed down the whole day. And our crowd were delighted to win the game, but they hadn't still not forgiven me yet for a while. And then by the 30th of March, we played Sheffield United here at Filbert Street, and they took the lead 1-0. So there was a bit of unease. The unease developed into downright vitriol. And when they scored the second goal to win the game, but about 75 minutes, then the whole Filbert Street just erupted. But just F off O'Neill, So that. And the thing about it is this here, that when the crowd actually turn against you, regardless of what sort of support you may or may not have in the boardroom, it doesn't really make any difference. It's really hard to turn that around. But in fairness, and it was tough.
So you went out on the air, on the local airwaves?
That was what happened. Is that I remember I've been used to a bit of success because at Wycombe Wanderers, with my daughters growing up, that they thought, well, Dad just wins, and no, it wasn't like this. So they were at the game at Filbert Street along with their mother, my wife, and so after the game there was demonstrations both outside and inside, and there was a group of people, I think they're called like a Blue Army, I'm not exactly sure what they were, but a renegade group, I must admit, but who had supposedly a bit of influence, and some of the directors had gathered them into a little room. And I wasn't aware of this, but I thought I'll go in and try and quell it. So they listened to me for a second or two, and I just said, listen, if this is the sort of football that you're going to get, for the next X number of months, then I'd walk away anyway. But there's not any grass. I just needed a bit more time. And I was only a couple of months into the job. Yeah. So anyway, the secretary, a fellow called Ian Sylvester, lovely lad Ian, a really good lad. And he, as I walk out of the meeting, he said, listen, Martin, there's still demonstrations still outside. He said, if you give me your car keys, he said, I'll drive round the back. And I said to Ian, no, I'm going out that front, Ian, don't you worry about that. And then I had a look out the window and I thought, he might be right. But but anyway, what I did, I decided I'll go out the front. So I put my two daughters in front of me and I walked out. You're supposed to laugh there because that was
the human shield.
Human shield didn't prevent it any from that. But still a lot of vitriol and get into the car.
Geraldine in front, she'll sort them out.
She was in the front seat. Well, let me tell you this. So she's sitting in the side and my two daughters in the back seat. So not a word said until we gone past the fosse. And anyway, so Ashley, my daughter, who's about 11 at the time, she said, oh, Dad, see all that bad language that the crowd were using? Was that aimed at you? And I'm afraid it was. And then I get this voice from the passenger side, this little my Irish wife saying, you deserved it anyway. You did. If you can't beat Sheffield United at Filbert Street, you deserved it anyway. Yeah. So it's really, she's very supportive in a non-supportive fashion, So. And but the following Monday, I went on the air and there was the sort of a phone-in, And I thought, well, listen, let's face up to it if that's the case. And on the Tuesday night, we were playing down at Charlton Athletic. And Muzzy is it. I just signed Muzzy. And Muzzy had come on in the game against Sheffield United. And just for a brief second of respite or two, Muzzy just turned, made a little move, which was that's brilliant. So, and I knew Muzzy could play. It was just, but Muzzy must have thought this was really strange because he's just come up from Chelsea on loan. And he's thinking, well, the manager's not going to last another 10 minutes. Yeah. So that's going to be... What am I doing here is right. But in fairness, he made the crowd at least just stop roaring for a second or two. Anyway, the long and the short of it is that he played, he started the game on the Tuesday night at Charlton. We won 1-0 and came back again. Then went to London again on the Saturday, and we beat Crystal Palace 1-0, although they absolutely pounded us in the game. And I have to say, Walsh was brilliant.
Right.
Really brilliant.
They're always the best results as a player. I think.
Brilliant in the game. He was brilliant. He headed everything clear. Honestly, he was absolutely fantastic in the game. So we won. So those two matches, and even though we come back to Filbert Street and lost to West Bromwich Albion,
Right.
the crowd had kind of settled a bit, and then we go on the run, and then we won 3 games in a week, and got into the playoffs. Got into the playoffs by beating Watford the last day, but we still had to wait at Watford, even though we had won, to see a couple of other results were going our way.
Yeah.
So we've got into and I do you know what? Honestly, I really felt that once we hit the playoffs, doesn't matter who we were going to play, I felt we'd win.
On that roll.
We'd go through, and by which time then I had sorted out my arguments with Gary Parker, whom I always had thought Parker was a good player, but Parker, and I thought he was a bit of a backroom lawyer, more than anything else, but he wasn't that at all. I'd got it hopelessly wrong, and he played in the games. We had the two-leg game against Stoke City. Kevin Poole made a great save at Filbert Street, kept us in it, but we won the match at it was the old Victoria ground, it wasn't they? Yeah. And so there we're at Wembley, by which time Lennon's his play is really strong. Lennon was fantastic in the final against Crystal Palace again. Even though they took the lead, we were really strong in the game but couldn't really get the goal. Then Muzzy gets the penalty. Parker, there was nobody else I would have rather asked to take the penalty, than Parker. Sticks it in the net, and then Clary just shins into the net to win the game for us. But it was.
Was it true you brought was it Calich on?
Right.
On
Okay.
in the game?
Well, what it was is this here. Big Calich, he was about 6'7".
That's right.
Actually, nice big lad, believe it or not, And but Kevin Poole had been terrific for us during the time since I had arrived. But every single week, regardless of training and how bad Calich was in training, he used to say after the training, "I'm ready now, Gaffer, to play." So, well, not after that performance in training, you weren't. But anyway, so we, as I mentioned earlier, man, the chance of going to Wolves at the time didn't happen because of some sort of work permit. Hadn't played enough games, I think, but was still with us. Anyway, so get to the final. And I had always in my mind, if it did go to penalties, Kevin Poole was actually quite small for a goalkeeper. He'd be about 5'10", I think, 11. Very agile, but small. And I just thought if we did get to penalties, I was going to change the goalkeeper because Calich at least then was so tall. Yeah. And if a team has been used to watching another goalkeeper, then suddenly, well, what's all this about? Yeah. And psychologically, I thought, he must be they might think he must be a real great penalty or saver. And so anyway, I waited to the last possible minute just in case he had a proper shot to have a look at. And it's not true.
That's maybe what inspired Claridge. He'd seen Calich in training.
He'd seen him come over. I need to shin this in quick.
In fairness, Calich said to me, when he's pulling, I said, "You're going in and for the penalty." He says, "Don't you worry, Gaffer." He says, he's putting on the glove.
Keepers are different, aren't
he says, "I'll win it for you."
Yeah,
he said, "Absolutely, I'll win it for you." And the sooner we got on and Clary scores the goal, and we go through.
He ended up at AC Milan.
He did, absolutely. He played for Australia as well, too.
AC Milan. Yeah. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
But,
so.
I mean, we'll probably come on to some of your alternative ways of thinking as a manager. I mean, one thing that springs to mind automatically when you talk about that with the goalkeeper situation, but Pontus Kamark in the 97 Coca-Cola Cup final against Juninho. Yeah. Man-to-man job there. But what strikes me while you're talking about that, we asked you one question and you've gone, not ranting, but you've gone through every detail. You remember days, what day it happened,
every game,
what week, what the score was, the dates, everything.
Oh, well, those are, when they become important to your life, then I think there is.
But I mean,
don't get me wrong, Matty, there are certain things, absolutely, there's certain things that are so clear to me, like the very first day I ever became a professional footballer in England, that's as clear to me today as I would remember that more clearly than I remember, what I was doing about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so the day that Brian Clough arrived in 1975.
Big moments.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And of course, arriving here at Leicester, thinking, you really want to do well at the football club, and then finding out that it's really, or you think it's not happening. And I'm in a dressing room at the time that seems to be I can't say it was an uproar, but it was one of those where let's see what you can do, sort of thing, and you need results. Every manager needs results.
What did you change? Apart from personnel, we're going to come on to signings.
No, I think in terms of the signings, I think Corrigan goes to Wolves. I didn't, I was actually quite pleased that he did, because it gave me the opportunity to get Stevie Claridge in. Although, who was the little lad that went to Aston Villa? Good little player. Joachim. Yeah. Julian wasn't doing great for us, but in my defence, it hadn't been doing really great. It looks as if he was going to be a really great player at one time.
Yeah, he burst on the scene.
Really, absolutely, and hadn't been doing good for a while. But Brian Little took him, and with that sort of money and the money that we got for Corrigan, we got Lenny in and got Stevie Claridge. And those were they were like major for us, Yeah. Lennon was absolutely fantastic, really, really fantastic, and Claridge did great. Didn't look, he looked
effective.
He was really effective, and for the two of them. So the signings that do help, and when you start winning a few games, I think you'll know, the dissenters in the dressing room suddenly don't say, they stay in the background for a while.
Yeah.
And if you win often enough, then they kind of disappear, So,
yeah. Did you bring in, is it right, Spencer Pryor around that time? Casey Keller?
No, Spencer and Casey came the opening of the following
in the
season.
Premier League.
That's right. They came. We signed them on the
down the line a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you change the style of play a little bit from memory?
Yeah, the style of play. Well, I'd been.
Was he obviously influenced that?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was at Wycombe Wanderers, we would generally play 4-4-2, had two wide players, Stevie Guppy playing wide on the left-hand side and a lad called Davy Carroll playing wide right. And I know those positions inside out because I'd played them so often myself at Nottingham Forest. And they not only were they excellent attacking players, but they got back to help as well too. So there was and I had a couple of defenders who headed everything. So no, that was widely important to me, as you know. Yeah. And defenders who could defend is really important. And if you've got a chance with that, then I think that if you've got some flair going forward, then you'll always give yourself a chance, to win the games.
Did you look into? I'm sure you do, the character of the player as well.
Well, if I'd looked into your character, I'd never assigned you.
Exactly.
So,
Didn't look too deep.
And the same for the fellow on my left-hand side.
You signed some quite diverse individuals, didn't you?
I wanted to ask you did you work people out on your own, or were you given heads up?
Well, can I tell you about signing him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Okay, so
here we go.
John and I think it's John. I think John came with me. We were down to play. We being Wycombe Wanderers.
Yes.
We'd now got into the Football League.
Yes.
We'd gone into the Football League and we're playing Doncaster Rovers at home. And there was an opportunity for me to see Doncaster play in the midweek, which was great because we get to see them. So I travelled up to watch them play, and I think I collected John Robertson along the way. I think it was John was with me at the time, and they were playing Scunthorpe. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Scunthorpe, you get there in time, you have a little cup of tea, and you see a lot of there's like Kenny Dalglish of Liverpool, and they're all here. And I thought, wait a minute, Scunthorpe and Doncaster, what are they here for? Wow. And so I nosy around, and they say, they're here to see the centre half of Scunthorpe play, I thought that would be interesting, so I'll have a little look, obviously. And
it was interesting for the wrong reason.
And he was dreadful. He's absolutely dreadful. He tried to pull the ball down.
I'm happy with dreadful.
Brilliant.
So anyway, on the way home, and I thought, I said to John, that must have been a real waste of time for those boys there, you know, going up to see them. What did they possibly see, or how did it come about? Anyway, so the following day, or was it the day after, I hear that Oxford United have bought him for about 175 grand. I said, well, they couldn't have been there for the Doncaster game. You know?
He was. Dennis Smith was there.
Yeah. Was he there?
Yeah, he was there. Malcolm Crosby told him not to.
Dennis Smith, obviously a very, very decent judge of a player you know, because no one in the right mind would have picked him. You know,
after that performance.
Absolutely. So he goes down to Oxford. Of course, Oxford's only a few miles from Wickham.
Yeah.
And even though they're a league above us at the time, I get to see. I'm always at football matches. You know, in that time you didn't have 15 scouts working for you or anything like this here. And so I got to see him, and he kind of grew on me a little bit. You played alongside
Phil Gilchrist.
You know,
yeah.
and Gilchrist, nice left-footed lad, nice player. But Matty was. You know,
Silky.
Yeah, he was getting very, very strong, and so anyway, and so by the time I get here, he is definitely yeah. But we wouldn't have been able to have got him before that, and here was this opportunity, and then we had the battle on with Southampton because Dennis Smith, I think. Dennis was keeping me informed, all right, but I think Dennis, if he had a preference, he'd probably maybe wanted you to go on side to Southampton. Maybe
Possibly.
But anyway, so I got that impression anyway. But I thought, well, I'm going to keep going here. Yeah. So we finally agreed the same fee. Matty and his ex-wife were going to go down and see Southampton, but we. Did the Lone Rangers in Tonto. We cut them off at the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
We hijacked them. We went to the hotel in High Wycombe. And I have to say, John Robertson, John was brilliant. I bored Matty to death about what I'm going to do with the football team. Matty thought, I'm really tired here. Absolutely. And all I needed was the chairman with me to bore him as well, big Tom Smeaton. Tom was a nice big lad, Tom, honestly, you know. And so Tom was in, yes, we've got all these fantastic plans. We knew they didn't. Yeah. But anyway, so, but John did great because John and Kathy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Had the little fag together, you know, little cigarettes.
That was the deal,
that was the deal. And I think John said to me, listen, Kathy, she's from Birmingham, and I think her parents were not a million miles from Birmingham. John used to say, well, Sunday lunch, you know, you don't want to be travelling down. You can't come from Southampton up to Birmingham for Sunday lunch. It's far too long. Yeah. Not that mattered a great deal, but Matty...
Strange but true. That was... not the only factor, but it was a decisive factor. The enthusiasm that you put into that, really.
He spoke to me about it before.
It was the total opposite. I went down to Graham Souness and the chairman didn't turn up, the chief exec didn't, and he said to me, look, I'd think again if I was you. Meeting you was the polar opposite. Yeah. And that was the defining thing that got me to sign at Leicester, really, yourself. Yeah. But again, you amaze me with your detail. Yeah. You know,
didn't you have a similar altercation when you were trying to sign Neil Lennon as well?
Oh, Lenny?
Yeah. Did you go round his house or something?
Oh, we went to the house. We were John Robertson was fantastic. Fantastic in every sort of aspect, really, really great. And
also the best player when he joined in training. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Well, and so we had, there was, Neil's agent was a fellow called Jim Melrose, and Jim was doing work, and Jim...
ex-Leicester striker.
Ex-Leicester striker, absolutely. And well, anyway, we got wind that Neil had a choice, or we had made a bid, initially £500,000, Coventry City, who were managed by... No, they were managed by big Ron Atkinson at the time. And they had eventually gone to a fee for $750,000. I would go to Dario Grady and say to him, listen, I'm going to match this deal. Okay, fine. So we have it matched. And Jim Melrose says, well, if you want to do it, because you need to do something quickly, because Neil think he's going to sign for Coventry, who were in the Premier League at the time. And so anyway, John and I decided, we remembered a Brian Clough story where Brian Clough and Peter Taylor wanted to sign Roy McFarlane, and never left the house. Went up to see Roy McFarlane. He was playing for Tranmere, I think, at the time.
Right.
And they said, "We're staying here until you sign. We're not leaving." And I think that Roy's mother and father got so fed up they thought we'll sign him here because we want rid of Clough and Taylor out of this house. So we thought we'll play along with the same sort of idea. So we go up and we go to Lenny's house. He's staying somewhere in Stockport. I've seen untidy houses in my time, but it's.
Was he in digs at the time?
Yeah, he was. Well, he was in something. I don't know.
In a hole.
Exactly sure
Something
it
that
was.
resembled a house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was sharing it with a couple of friends who this was about 10:30, who were just getting up, and so it was one of those. But there was a piece of cheese on the table, and the mice were turning it down. So I thought, and we had a chat with Lenny, and I said to Robbo, honestly, if the mice are turning down this cheese, I said, it's maybe time to get out of here. I didn't. I was only joking. But anyway,
pizza box. Like,
it was.
Yeah, something like that. Well.
And then, but we had a competition because the only thing I did say to Neil Lennon was that, Lenny, I've seen you 3 times in succession, which I had. The games, this was Crewe, luckily enough, because Crewe had played Southampton in the FA Cup matches, and they'd also played Bradford in their league. And I don't know how on earth I got, and Bradford, I don't know how I was able to see the 3 games, but I did in quick succession. So this wasn't just taking a risk. You knew what you could do. Absolutely knew what you could do. Did I think you would go on to be as brilliant as that? I'm not so sure about that there, but I knew. And so anyway, I just said to him, listen, I've seen you play. I bet you Ron Atkins doesn't even know whether you can head the ball or not. Well, that might be true. And Ron might not have known, but and there's a fairly decent chance that Coventry City would be able to offer him more money, and also in the Premier League as well too. All of those things. So, but in fairness to Lenny, he turned it down, turned Coventry down, and came to us.
That's a big coup, really.
That's really
for
big,
a player,
honestly, yeah.
to turn down a Premier League club for a.
And I honestly, Stevie Claridge was absolutely fantastic as well, with the 2 of them together. If we hadn't had those players in, I think promotion would have passed us by. Right.
Just the last bit on that Neil Lennon saga, was there? There was always tales that you wrote down. I mentioned there about the pizza box. You wrote down the details of the contract.
I probably did.
Along those lines, and offered it to him. There you go.
Yeah.
Margarita.
Yeah, yes or no?
He was more interested in what was inside the pizza box.
Yeah.
But that's probably did.
Some player, Lenny, wouldn't they?
Yeah, he did.
How integral, Martin, would you say Robbo, the likes of Robbo, Steve Walford, and Seamus were to you? I know you've mentioned Robbo there, but
Stevie was a really good coach. Really good coach. He was. Stevie was. First of all, I knew him as a player. The 2 of us were players at Norwich City. He's younger than me, obviously, but and so we signed at Norwich City roughly about the same time as players. So I knew about him. Anyway, I left Norwich and he left and went to West Ham, and then his career was coming to an end. His last days were at Wickham. I signed him to Wickham so when I went to Norwich City, I brought him along with me as the youth team and reserve team coach.
Right, yeah.
And when I came to Leicester, Wally said, well, they might be offering me something here at Norwich. He said, Martin, but I want to be the first team coach. And in fairness to him, he said that he wanted to be the first team coach at Leicester. And I said, absolutely. By which time I'd got to see what he could do, and knew. And he and John I feel this, maybe hopefully you will agree, that they integrated really well with the players for a start, didn't they? Really well with the players. They did this here, they did it at Leicester City and did it at Aston Villa really well. And that's where I can stay aloof a bit. I still think that I'm reasonably okay, but I can stay out of it. And I used to say to John and Steve, you know, I don't want you to be reporting things back to me. I'm really not that bothered. Unless somebody has committed a felony or something like this here and is about to be arrested, you can let me know. But overall, that was it. And I think a lot of the players, it was certainly at Celtic, and hopefully maybe you would agree here, could confide. Not that they were telling John and Steve their most intimate details, but they could confide with them in a way that they thought, well, listen, they'll take it in the right manner. They'll not be reporting back to me. Am I explaining myself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, Robbo was always a good sounding board.
Yeah.
You know, even if he was just going down to the laundry to leave a kit, and he was sat there with Sheila and Dilly. Yeah. You know, and you could just have a quick chat with him, a quick 2-minute chat.
When Seamus came along, here was the biggest thing I felt. We had real trust in each other, in the sense that if John had a thought about a team, or Steve had a thought about a side, eventually I know that whatever they would say would have stayed in there. I said, this is the team, if that's the case. And they would never be outside, and they would never be saying to someone else, oh, well, I would have picked a different team. Yeah. I've seen this happen before with managers and assistant managers, honestly. So I know that there. And even in a pub, they would never let their guard down, and because they wouldn't be saying, oh, well, I would have been doing something different. So we had complete trust in each other when Seamus came and joined us.
Which is massively important.
Really important, because you feel as if that you have these people beside you that have your back.
Yeah, even if they don't agree with you initially.
Even if they don't necessarily agree with what your team is. Yeah. And I think John used to always say to me, go with your gut instinct. And I did. That's why you seldom played. Yeah. And so, only joking. I'm only kidding, young man. Honestly, he was excellent. Oh, there you go. Yeah, excellent. I'm going to tell you a story about your dad, right? Look, I signed him. He said it was a freedom of contract from Bolton Wanderers. Personally, it was because Bolton couldn't wait to get shot of him. But anyway, so I take him along, and it's up to you, I said, to battle into this side. Yeah. And then for quite some weeks, I thought, it's not really happening. And I actually said to him, I said, Gerry, listen, honestly, it's not going to happen for you here. So might have to think of something else. You're not giving me a proper chance, Gaffer. He said, I said, well, I can't afford just to give you a chance. I'm running a football team here. But if you do get into the side, I said, let us see, okay? And he won the Player of the Year at the end of the season, So there you are.
Point proved.
Well, it didn't quite go that way, did it, the conversation? But it was a bit more heated than that.
Slightly more heated
than that.
Well, it's very difficult for me to get heated with you, Gerry, because one, you're much bigger than me.
No, I'm a big softie, though.
But you are, yeah. But yeah.
No, it did get a bit heated. But
all right, if you want to tell your son, go ahead.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll leave it at that.
Time mellows.
Yeah.
Time mellows.
But you proved your point, which was great.
Well, no, I think, you made me prove it, which is, which you would say is great management.
Then.
Right, okay. But seriously, if there'd been, sometimes you get a little, what shall I say, something that works out, you feel as if, oh gosh, it was, we had the right approach. Sometimes it's not necessarily that. And you have to take credit for it, because you did great. I had lost a bit of faith in you. Yeah. And you have to, so it's all right me saying, that's a fine bit of management. No, you did it. That's the most important thing. Right. Honestly. You have to do it. You have to do it. No, absolutely. Regardless. And
So that's players would have just went by the wayside.
That's the only praise you're getting today. Right, okay.
He's being quite gracious now, Martin, but away from the cameras, he's always telling people that version anyway.
Is he?
About how well he did, despite
brilliant.
Despite your negativity.
Brilliant.
But no, I mean, for some reason, not all of them, but so many of your signings tend to work, didn't they?
Yeah. I did do my homework on believe it or not, I knew about you. I would have known about him anyway.
Steve Wolford told me that between him, Robbo, and you watched me umpteen times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Times. And I was unaware of that.
No, absolutely. I know. there were certainly 2 times that when I was at Wickham that I didn't. I actually went to the was it the Manor Ground, wasn't it? At Oxford, and actually just paid my own way in to the games, just to watch you play.
Yeah. So I was fortunate that you were located nearby.
Yeah, yes, and always it was nice to get out of the house as well too. So it was really great. So you were my excuse.
Yeah, no, successful times. I mean,
Shall we move on to the Premier League?
well, exactly. Yeah, we haven't even got that far. Yeah, good job we're just talking about Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah, stick with it.
Here till next week, but so obviously the back end of that playoff final, Claridge, the elation of getting promoted, and then all of a sudden there's sort of like the realisation, I suppose, it dawns on you that you don't want Leicester to keep being a yo-yo club, as they were around that time.
Yeah.
And you were putting some.
Yeah, there was a change. Martin George was stepping down, which was a bit sad for me. And there was a bit of infighting going on in the background at the which reared its head possibly far too often.
It seemed to be ongoing, didn't it?
Yeah, it seemed to really ongoing. However, anyway, there was this idea that that some of the board members had of getting into the 20 club, where there was no real fantastic money around. Any money that was around, I think it was provided by Martin George, I think, at the time. So, but Martin was deposed in many aspects, and as chairman anyway, and new chairman coming in, and then the board had this idea that they could raise £5 million by 20 businessmen putting £250,000. It never really materialised. But I was able to buy, just before the season started, I was able to buy Spencer Pryor and Casey Keller, and Casey was about 900,000, I think, and whatever Spencer was 6 or 7.
See there again, 2 individuals there, excellent buyers, did really well for you.
Yeah.
But totally different personalities to say myself and Gerry, or certainly Ian Marshall, the likes of that, and. Yeah. So it's not just personality; it's sort of
Marshall. Good Lord.
there's another episode altogether, isn't it? Ian Marshall. Perhaps we'll come on to him and the likes of Walshy, but quite diverse personalities that you brought to the club.
Yeah, I knew Spencer anyway from my time at Norwich,
of course,
so I knew that there. And,
steady.
Yeah, steady, absolutely. Could do a decent job, and It's interesting you're talking about systems you play, but when I came here, I played 3 at the back, primarily because I think the best one we had was obviously Walshy, and sometimes the playing at 3 at the back was to try and shore up things as much as anything else, rather than thinking it's a real attacking formation. Although, in fairness to me, my wing backs always were attacking players who had genuinely attacking players who would want to work back for you, but weren't maybe all that brilliant at doing it. But anyway, okay.
You even got Andrew Impey working back.
Andrew Impey, that would be difficult.
It's a feat in itself.
Absolutely. So, but anyway, getting back to it. So I knew it was going to be difficult for us to start. First opening games, we drew at Sunderland. Anyway, beat Southampton here, where Emile, who wanted to play centre forward now because he had been playing wide left for us in the run up to promotion, and he scored a couple of goals against Southampton. Then the next couple of matches,
Emile was some player back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we got turned over at home here against Liverpool. You realise what a gap there was, but we stuck at it. Finally, the lads were coming to terms with it, and then we started to eke out a few results, and in the meantime, we were getting we were doing quite well in the League Cup.
Yes,
and that the little run in the League Cup was great. You came in January time, wasn't it? About January, yeah. Stevie Guppy came at that time, although you were cup tied, and it picked up a bit of momentum. By which time now I've won the crowd over, and which might not necessarily have still been the same. And maybe I'm making too much of this here, but even though we got promotion, I still felt that there might be a bit of unease, and particularly when we hadn't been strong in the transfer market. Remember, Casey and Spencer came 2 days before we opened the season at Sunderland. You know, so and anyway, and I think but gradually things were starting to work. We're winning a few matches. We're holding our own. It was always a battle the first season to see, you know, just to try and stay up. I felt that the players were really right behind me, you know. At that,
oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. At that stage, and some players playing phenomenally well, and of course it does help when the players that you sign are doing really well as well too, you know. So anyway, as you mentioned, Matty, a lot of positivity. It's the first word I've used now, and I've been here half an hour. So not at all. I was only trying to tell you how difficult it was to begin with. But no, I honestly love the football club. The next couple of years with you lads, the sort of success that we had was just phenomenal. And I genuinely would not have left had not Celtic have come in, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
No, exactly. That's a little bit down. Just quickly, sorry, Tags,
Go
on that. I mentioned it.
I was going to mention the banners, how times turned quickly.
I did, yeah.
When the banners and the balloons were going up saying, please don't leave, Mark.
That was that really nice, honestly.
How did that affect you?
Well, I made all of those banners myself, which was really, really important. And then handing them out, getting my two daughters to hand them out just to the crowd coming in before the games was really, really terrific. And I don't know how they got round to it, but they did, you know. Please take this one for Daddy. All right. Anyway, but no, that was
that was
really
pretty
nice.
special.
Yeah, it was absolutely. You know, so that was them.
A few of the players had those banners as well, didn't they?
No, one or two had them. No, they scored out the don't. Please go.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, there were one or two of them as well.
Yeah, you'll always have one or two.
But I was just, I know the story, really. I know the reason behind it. But perhaps for people listening, watching, would you run over the reason that you decided to employ Pontus Kmark as man marker against Juninho?
Yeah.
On the back of the league fixture.
The league fixture, yeah. We played a couple of weeks beforehand at Filbert Street, and he murdered us. You know, absolutely. He was at that stage. Middlesbrough themselves were having a difficult time, believe it or not, in the league, and finally got relegated that season, even though they reached two cup finals. Yeah.
They're all the superstars as well.
They had Emerson, Ravanelli, and Juninho. Juninho was definitely the best attacking midfield player in the country at the time. You know? And he ripped us apart. And therefore, you couldn't let him maraud around Wembley. It causes all sorts of problems. And
remember, we had a set piece, and Gary Parker got left 1v1 against Juninho. Mm-hmm. I think it was the third goal that they scored. And it was. It wasn't a contest. Put it that way.
It wasn't pretty. And it wasn't a contest.
No, it wasn't. I must admit. So we've got them in the final, and I thought if we could negate him. And make it a 10v10 for as much as possible. Sometimes that you're not able to man mark a player of such ability out of a game completely, but if you have someone keeping an eye on him, and Pontus, I felt, was capable of doing that.
Yeah, did an amazing job.
He did fantastically in both games.
That's a big decision for you to make.
Yeah.
Did you not feel that at the time when you made that decision? Because you're taking one of your own players out of to sacrifice, not sacrifice as such, but you're saying, Pontus, I need you to do this today for me. And to have that conviction to choose him instead of, I don't know, say a Lenny or somebody like that there.
Yeah, I think yes, Pontus, I felt that Pontus was capable of doing the job and that he could, I thought he had the discipline to do it.
Right.
Whereas maybe some of the other lads wouldn't have had that sort of discipline, would want to have played. Pontus still wanted to play the game.
Yeah.
But Pontus was, he gave me the impression that he would be happy to do the job. And then if there was any little bits and bobs that he could do while on the ball, fine.
Fair enough.
Not particularly creative.
No. Yeah, exactly. Pontus,
by his own admission.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. You know.
He had weird technique. I can't remember exactly what, but I'm sure
Technically, you used to look at
at
their
the
eyes.
eyes, yeah.
You used to look at the players' eyes, which I found
Whatever
really
shapes they were
difficult.
throwing.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult. You think you should be looking at the opposition's feet
Yeah.
to go down to see what way the ball's
Yeah.
turning. But he kept staring at their eyes.
Yeah, it
Maybe that's
works.
what put the player off.
Maybe so.
But yeah, so
It's effective.
it was effective, and eventually it certainly played a part in us winning.
I wouldn't do it with you, Gerry. I wouldn't know which one of the three to look at.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, or 4. But it was that was like amazing times though, wasn't it, for a club like Leicester? You know, flirting with sort of relegation up and down, then all of a sudden staying up quite comfortably as it was in the end, wasn't it?
We did.
I think we ended up
we finished
14th.
9th or something.
Ninth,
no,
was it?
We never were out of the top 10.
Sorry, it
for
was,
years.
wasn't it? 9th,
Yeah.
Yeah, which even though there was sort of worries about relegation in the latter stage, winning the cup, major trophy, and then playing in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next time and
absolutely.
taking us away
Against Atletico Madrid with Juninho.
With Juninho,
Believe it or not,
How was that,
Yeah.
Martin? Obviously, I hadn't joined yet.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Because there was obviously a few controversial decisions in that tie.
The referee was terrible. He was really terrible here at Filbert Street. And he's given. We had 3 penalty shouts, definite penalties, weren't given in the game, And this was the second game. We'd done pretty well in the first match as well. Took the lead as well. Was it Marshall scored the goal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Big Marshall. You've got this opportunity of beating a team like Atletico Madrid, who were massive at the time. Absolutely, for us to keep going in the competition, it's really absolutely. And as well, we'd got off to a really good start that season. I think that we had, after 9 games, I think we had about 18 points on the board. Wow. So we were really going strongly at the time.
2 points,
2 points per
points a game,
absolutely. So we were really flying at the time, and so that really disappointing, because you've qualified for Europe, albeit through winning the League Cup. You play in Europe. You want to have a couple of matches. We knew the first one was going to be really difficult. They had just signed a number of players. Juninho, they'd signed the big Italian centre forward as well too.
Vieri.
Yeah, well done. And
I remember it.
so excuse me. So they were and for us, So the frustration was there, but
some team they had.
The game,
the frustration was not just the penalty decisions, Martin, as well, was it? It was the free kick. Remember the free kick?
The free kick.
Gary Parker.
Gary Parker took a quick free kick.
That's right, and he booked him.
Yeah. He booked him for it, So
booked him, which meant he was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were man down for taking a quick free kick.
He booked him for a free kick, So listen, honestly. Well.
And then
might have been.
Yeah. I was going to say, then we move on. The League Cup wasn't so grateful that season.
The next year we lost at Grimsby.
Grimsby, that was it,
up at Grimsby, that was grim. Yeah.
The year after that.
The year after, we
get to the final again against Tottenham.
Yeah. And you come in, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We lose that game.
Yes.
Again, as a manager.
Squib of a final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that? Even though the party afterwards was in full flow, thanks to a few of my mates, my Uncle Sean, if you remember.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the game...
Well, you're the only man I know, Gerry, could celebrate a defeat.
You didn't do too bad yourself, after the initial disappointment.
An initial disappointment, that initial disappointment lasted for about 4 years, mate.
Right, well, there you go, yeah.
So...
Actually, you mentioned that, Martin, so I just...
I always remember Tony Curry.
Right.
Coming up there after that game. Or he tells that story where he's come up there and he's like in tears or near in tears, and you go up and put your arm around him and say, "What's up?" And he said, "Well, that's it. That's my last chance ever to win a medal." And you says to him, you pat him on the back and you said, "We'll be back next year."
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And
we're back. We're back again.
There's another one of those situations where things fall into place.
which is really what we want to get to. We want to get to his couple of goals. His man of the match.
We've heard enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, but
it was great to win it. It was really great.
It was brilliant.
Honestly, it was just absolutely
I was
fantastic.
going to just jump in there quickly when you said about that defeat affected you for 4 years. I know it's just probably a slight exaggeration, but well, mind you saying that, it still rankles with us now.
Yeah.
But that was like part of your character as a manager. I always remember that. Was it a conscious thing or was it just your emotions? Because when we won, it didn't matter who it was against. It could be Chesterfield, 1-0 at home, second round of the Coca-Cola Cup.
Yeah.
We won. It was like winning the World Cup.
Yeah.
Celebrate, genuine enthusiasm and elation.
Yeah.
If we lost, didn't matter who we lost against. It was like total dejection, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It affected us. And I think it was just how you react anyway. I don't know. But was it part of your sort of managerial ploy as well? Because it used to have a good effect on us because we absolutely hated losing because of it.
Yeah.
Matty, the game's about, honestly, the game is about winning. It's about winning. And let no one else tell you differently. It's about winning. Managers can lose their jobs even if they do win a couple of games. But chances are they're going to lose jobs if you're losing. And it's not just that. As a player, I was always the last one in out of the dressing room, and my time trying to prove Brian Clough wrong about me was it's so many times. But I felt as if if we lose this game, I might suffer. I might even have scored a goal in the match, but I might suffer from all of this here. So it's been that. It's been, but even as a kid, you want to win. I mean, I've got two brothers, younger brothers, and I used to give them starts in racing, at the time, but I couldn't possibly let them win the race. I know people go through this. I can't let them win the race. I'll go very, very close to it. And then what happened, Matty, is that I had a younger brother called Shane that was miles quicker than me when it finally got to the point. I was a professional footballer with Nottingham Forest. He used to take me out for runs in the evening time.
Yeah.
And he would give me about 5 yard start over 100 and beat me.
Right, he's giving you a start now.
He gave me the start, So that's the frightening thing. He was a schoolboy. So that was really worrying at the time, And
that was something that used to shine through to me, though. You as a manager, people would say, how can you encapsulate why Martin's so good as a manager, man manager, whichever way you want to look at it. And in simple terms, I just used to say that to see his enthusiasm, your energy, your desire to win.
You have to win.
When you'd done big things, you've won 2 European Cups.
Yeah.
And here we were, players playing at Leicester, okay, Premier League, but we hadn't achieved anything like you had. So at least we can do is give our all. Yeah. And that was a big part of your management, I
Well, there's two examples I could give you, Matty. I think that I was at Wycombe Wanderers, and to me it was the be all and end all of everything. We're in the league. We're in the Vauxhall Conference, the league before the big league, and we're playing teams like Bromsgrove, Kidderminster, and teams like this here, and that was all consuming for me. Right. And it didn't really matter. By the time it would be 6:30 on a Saturday evening, by the time I would have known how Manchester United might have done. I had no interest. The whole thing was all consuming. And of course, the lads that are playing for me have favourite teams. Mm-hmm. And this young lad I had signed from Brentford is called Jason Cousins, who was brilliant for me. Also very handsome as well too. Mm-hmm. So, but honestly, brave as a lion, went through a brick wall for, and I loved him. But he was a big Arsenal fan. And so we've just won this big game. And I overheard him in the dressing room saying, how have Arsenal done? And I gave him the most unmerciful rollicking. I said, no. You want to know how Starbridge did, son? I'm telling you, you'll find out later on about how Arsenal did. It was one of the questions asked, how had Arsenal done? We're just in there, and we've just won a big game here. Yeah. But I'm quoting that as an example. Jason was actually all-consuming, but he just stepped out of line this time by asking about Arsenal, maybe in the excitement. But here's the point I want to make. So I'm down at Wycombe. My two daughters, who would never have seen me play, were never around when I was playing. So really, all they knew about their dad was a football manager. So Aisling, who's an intelligent girl, we're down at Wycombe. We've left a really good house in Nottingham to have rented accommodation down at Wycombe. thought I'd be staying in the rented house for about 6 months. Ended up they'd been there for about 3 years, and but every Saturday, my daughter Aisling knew that if the results are good, that we can head off to a Chinese restaurant in High Wycombe. Might have been a bit dodgy Chinese, but it doesn't really matter, and they would have a really good time. But if you lost, Dad was morose and not in it. And so when I'm saying cheerio to them, and if the game's at Wycombe, they'll come to the match. If it's close enough at hand, they might come to the away games. But anyway, Aisling used to always come out, asked to wind down the window for me and said, "Dad, just win. Just win." So she knew. So honestly,
don't spoil the Chinese.
Just win. Absolutely right. So and that's it. You have it is winning. And winning a football match is everything. You know this yourself. It doesn't need to be.
I think certainly professional players have got it in them. Obviously, that competitiveness. But I was going to say you took it to extremes. That's the wrong thing to say. But it was magnified by you. Really.
And it didn't matter who we were playing. It's that you win the game. That's good. And you know what? When you've won, it gives you a little bit more time to analyze, and you can be, afterwards. So even if you know that somebody you've won a game, and even one of the lads hasn't done all that well, you still feel as if, listen, you're in with it. You're in with that crowd, And it can, if you think sometimes a manager, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how I felt about it, but sometimes, even if somebody didn't do all that well, if you've won, it's glossed over what that player has not necessarily done, and I might go with the same team the following week, So, it's up, listen.
Talking of winning games, and talking about Matty's 2 goals, but we're going to skip past that to... You brought Stan Collymore into the football club. I think it was the week after we won the Worthington Cup. We played Sunderland at home. And Heskey and Collymore played up front.
That was I think, and it was only one game because the following Thursday, Emil signed for Liverpool. So, but it was a week after the cup final, and that was really a really strong side. We had really, really good side. Collymore he could play, and I remember him as a kid when he played for Stafford Rangers, and he played against Wycombe Wanderers one day at the old Lokes Park ground. You could see he definitely had ability, and the next thing you know, Southend bought him for £100,000. £200,000 in the Vauxhall Conference. That's amazing. And but anyway, so and Collymore obviously had a bit of baggage carrying around with him. It didn't really worry me as long as he did it in the field. I wasn't expecting him to act the buffoon around. He and who was with him? We're talking about
Which incident were you talking about?
We're talking about
La Manga.
La Manga.
Right.
La Manga.
The Manga one.
I think Walshy was on the scene, wasn't he?
But not Collymore. The game.
That 5-2 game where he scored a hat trick on his home debut, and like you say, it obviously come with a bit of baggage. Did you obviously know about that? Did you know how to? Were you managing him in a certain way to try and get the best?
I think that Collymore. Listen, we all like to be treated in a reasonable manner. And you're hoping that someone might, if that's the case, that someone can respond to it. It doesn't necessarily always happen, But Collymore he could play. He's proved himself to be a player, and so if he's had a bit of a difficult time, then perhaps maybe this might be a point where he might feel as if he's wanted, and he might display for you. That's what I was hoping to get. I didn't. His ability was never in dispute, and he was absolutely phenomenal that day. But so I probably wasn't around long enough after that there, and he broke his leg, didn't he? He had an injury about 3 or 4 games after that there, which was a setback. And by the time that he was in recuperation, I'd gone to Celtic, you know. So I'd like to have worked with Stan for a lot longer than we did, you know.
Yeah, you listen to Stan. I mean, we see him occasionally, bump into him. But I've heard him numerous times. He says that was the happiest he was in a dressing room.
Is that right?
In that short time at Leicester, yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, rather than, we accepted him into the fold as well, obviously, under your guidance, etc. But he might have had more spectacular times at Liverpool and elsewhere. But he said that dressing was his favourite time away from the pitch,
Oh, that's nice, right, okay. Didn't know that.
But he's a complex character, Stanley, isn't he?
Yeah, he is,
Never dull.
No, it's never dull, absolutely.
How did Emile Heskey leaving and going to Liverpool affect you, Martin, as well as the rest of us?
Okay, right. I knew that he was down to go at the end of the season.
Right.
Right, and the fee was £9 million at the time. Just after the League Cup final, listen, we knew that he was going to be heading, or certainly myself and Mr. Elson, the chair, and the board. And so the offer of £9 million from Liverpool, I think, wasn't it Gerard Hooley who was in charge, was accepted, and it was going to be at the end of the season. But in those days, I think the transfer deadline was March time, the third Thursday or whatever it happened to be, or something like that there. And Emile and the agent wanted to sort of bed in at Liverpool earlier than just the start or at the end of the season. So we got an extra £2 million for him, but it was still he was going to be hard to replace. That's the point. Although the only thing about it is that we would have had more time to consider, other options. But other options were going to be difficult to find, And while £11 million today, as we're talking about, seems like nothing, it was, it was a lot of money at that time.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how fees have escalated in the manner in which they've done. But anyway, so I was leaving, but I don't think that would be the reason why I would just go up stakes. I mean, my job is to try and find other players, and I'd done it reasonably well up until then, so that I was hoping I'd be able to do something again. We might have to change certain things about the team. We might have to adopt a different approach in certain matches. But he was going to be hard to replace. There's no question about it. And and when Celtic did come in for me, was that a decision? Was that a decision? Do you know what?
Because you were losing Heskey.
Right. I can't categorically deny that is the case. Honestly, Gerry, I should remember this particular thing. I still felt it was my duty to go and get other players in, and I think I maybe could have done that. But I think perhaps maybe Emile leaving at the stage, and I thought, well, okay, we've qualified for Europe. We're in Europe again. We've done that, and I think maybe it did. Please, I'm not filibustering here.
No, it's fine.
I just don't. I get back to the point. It is my job to go and find replacements. And if Celtic had not come in for me, I wouldn't have left. I was really happy, really happy at the football club, and I would not have left. If this had been another Premiership club coming in for me, honestly, I wouldn't have left. There was plans afoot at the time to move to a new stadium, but Filbert Street was really like my home, where I felt it was like my home then, And so from that viewpoint, I'd really no intention of going, even in June. You say to yourself, well, I had this window of opportunity in the month of June. If teams come in, I could speak to them, but it didn't really matter. Let me tell you how. I go to Celtic for less money than I was getting at Leicester.
So I believe.
So, so that's the.
I think there's, a certain genre of people understand that. I understand.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of my background and your background.
I think the thing that we had, in the background where I was having little bit of difficulty with some of the board members who were still hovering around at the time, but they had gone, and I think that those people who had taken my side, some supporters who had taken my side, are not, just kind of off centre, not actually board members, but maybe a little step down from that there, who had really followed me. I think they felt disappointed that I've gone now, having battled through all of this here. Although I personally felt that the battles I was taking on were I was battling for my own on them. But but I honestly, I can hand in heart say that if Celtic had not come in, I wouldn't have gone there. And as you say, because of your background, because of because of where you've been and that type of stuff.
It's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, Celtic's a huge pull, isn't it? But I remember, I don't know whether you do, Martin, being captain at the time, occasionally you would not confide in me, but would mention things to me. I remember you saying to me that you had aspirations before the Celtic situation. You were saying to want to go and compete that step further, like Leeds were.
Yeah.
Leeds became, even though it ended up going a little bit awry for them, but like to go and compete.
Yeah.
Champions League level.
Yeah.
And that was.
But in my silliness, I thought that we could compete. That was
exactly.
The point. That was the whole point. I
was
wanted
the ambition.
You do.
That
You
was the
want.
next step.
You want to compete. Absolutely. It was the same
Perhaps
time.
a meal being sold, a bit of and then timings of everything.
Do you know what? Honestly, the more the think about you could be absolutely right. You know, maybe it was we couldn't stop if Emil had stayed on. And Celtic had come in at the time. I wonder whether that would be an interesting thought for me. But anyway, listen, it is what it is. And
it worked out all right anyway, didn't it?
And it worked all right, yeah. And Matty, I tried to sign him for Celtic, and Matty used me to get more money at Leicester City. Which there you are.
I know.
And you think he's a good-hearted lad? No. No.
How can I put
you'd have been fantastic there. But anyway,
very large parts of me wish that move had transpired, but it wasn't. It did not happen for the reasons I think you thought at the time.
Matty, listen, I
it wasn't as sinister as perhaps you
not
thought.
at all. And I've never felt that about you, even though I can have a bit of a joke about it. It's not the case. Hey, listen, I wouldn't have been doing this podcast here if it wasn't for you two. Anyway, so there we go.
Lucky
so no serious problem about it at the time. It would have been great if you come up, and I think it would have worked out great. But listen, there's loads of reasons for people staying on. Sometimes you get used to a little area, and you think, well, okay, listen, if I can get if I can do better in my deals, I don't think there's anything wildly wrong with it. I might have got upset for about 2 weeks, but
2 years maybe.
2 years, perhaps.
I didn't actually even realise that. At the time, it wasn't in my thinking. It was only when you came down with Celtic to play a game that was part of your agreement, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
You just become Scottish champions. Yeah. Leicester had just got relegated, and it was a bit of a strange evening. But John Robertson was there. And I said, Robbo, how you doing, mate? And he's like, I'm not talking to you. I was like, why?
Well, we weren't relegated, Leicester. They finished 14th.
No, we just got relegated.
Was it?
Yeah. By the time the game.
The game was on.
Yeah.
And then he informed me that you'd still fallen out. I was like, I didn't even realise.
Yeah.
But then, which I was regretful about, and I didn't understand it properly. And I've, in a roundabout way, apologised to you a couple of times. Don't know whether you accept it or not. But then Robbo came to me and said, by the way, Matty. So he wasn't talking to me 1 minute. He went, have you got any tickets? The game, you want to talk to me now, do you? He wanted a cup of tea, albeit even just a friendly game. So, but no, we're still on good terms with Robbo. He's not in the best of health.
No, it's a shame, really. Absolutely,
But when you see him pass on our regards.
I absolutely will do. Yeah, great.
Yeah, we'll
really
do.
Great.
But I suppose Celtic is another episode in itself. What a wonderful time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic football club, as is Rangers. Really, and the Old Firm derbies are really something else. You get nervous about them beforehand, and then if you've won, it's just the best feeling in the world. And of course, if you lose, it's disaster, an absolute disaster. But there's kind of no in between, really. But the experiences at Celtic were terrific, really terrific, and you'd have enjoyed the Champions League nights as well too. So there were. I'm sure. There's some really, really special. The Rangers games at Celtic Park I think were particularly special, obviously, and the European evenings at Celtic are just brilliant.
Well, I was lucky enough to get to the final,
Yeah.
the UEFA Cup final
You went to it, yeah?
in Seville
In Seville.
Yeah.
against FC Porto.
Porto, Marie.
I think it was little Alan was running around. Your friend, little Alan from
Wee
Dublin.
Alan, absolutely, well done.
You managed to
That's
get
what you said.
myself and
Yeah.
Paul
I remember
McAndrew.
you told me that, but
So we actually went to the game.
yes,
What a night that was. I know Celtic got beaten in, but what a game.
yeah,
I thought a great game
Yeah.
of football.
yeah.
Disappointing evening, obviously, for Celtic and yourself.
3-2. Got them beaten. We lost the match 3-2
Yeah.
to Porto, who went on to win the Champions
Champions
League
League
the
the year
following year
after.
with the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henrik Larsson.
Henrik
Mr.
Larsson.
Mourinho, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Every time they scored a goal, they went back to Porto to celebrate.
Yeah.
You know the rules. you know the rules that are setting in now, where you're talking about
Yeah.
10 minutes. I'm delighted with it. But there's nothing more pleasing to find out that there's an extra 10 minutes going on in the game, believe it or not, for the throw-ins and the things that the people take, and the number of substitutions that people are making now.
Yeah.
So they're right to do it. I mean, eventually, I think you should have a clock.
Yeah.
And take it out of the referee's hands
Correct.
completely.
Exactly. It
That's
should
what
be
I think
someone
we
else
should do.
dealing with it.
Yeah, but even so, it's a good thing.
You just mentioned there about the big time atmosphere at Celtic, Champions League nights, etc. I suppose it would be remiss of us not to mention Steve Guppy, because obviously he's been, I was going to say, a big part of your career. I don't know. You've been a big influence on his career, put it that way. But Gups is a friend of ours still to these days, still in touch. I wonder how he coped on those big games.
Right, okay. Well, he doesn't. He hates that phrase, nervous.
Oh, he does.
Nervous Norris.
Yeah, and I think Gary Parker might have given it to him,
Yeah.
did he? Nervous Norris.
And he's fallen out with Emil Heskey as well.
Yeah.
So
Has he?
they've got a little bit of argy-bargy
Neil
going on.
used it in an interview, and Gups just won't let it go.
No.
Is that right? Okay. Well, Gups was brilliant for me. Really terrific. At Wycombe Wanderers, I inherited him as a young player, and he did wonderfully well. Then I fell out with him because he wanted to. He came to me at the end of one particular season. We just got promotion into the Football League, and he said, "Oh, Gaffer, there's a team in for me at this minute." He said, and I said, "Well, who is it? Oh, I can't tell you. I can't tell me. I'm the manager. Yeah. He's a player. He can't tell the manager what team is coming in from." I said, well, okay. I said, we'll sort that out in a moment or two. But what's the fee? Oh, they don't want to go to a tribunal. I said, you're not telling me the name of the team. You're not telling, but they don't want to go to the tribunal, but they're prepared to, what are they prepared to offer? I think it was about £80,000 for him or something, I guess, yeah. I said, not at all. I said, Stevie, yeah. Anyway, as it turns out, finally get it out of him, it was Newcastle United under Kevin Keegan. And Kevin Keegan eventually spoke to me on the phone. And I said, well, what's all this about? I said, if you want to sign the player, just pay the money that our chairman is looking for.
That he went there,
Yeah. And so anyway, after a bit of toing and froing, Gup signs for Newcastle. It was never going to work for him. He was in at the same time as the
Rob Lee, people like
all of those players. At the moment.
Ginola.
Ginola, yeah.
So it was, and then the next thing you know, he's gone to Port Vale. He's gone from Newcastle to Port Vale, and that's where I signed him from Port Vale to Leicester. Yeah. By which time I'd forgiven him for the whole escapade of not telling me who the club was in for him. Anyway, he did great for me. And then he's got fantastic enthusiasm. He's always got great ideas, particularly with the Republic of Ireland. He was giving me some fresh ideas about what we could do in little training sessions. And remember, we are talking about having very, very little time to prepare for matches. You arrive on a Sunday evening. Yeah. Some of the lads are coming in, match day -3. Have you heard all of these?
Yeah.
That's nonsense, match day minus. And sometimes you don't even get the player out to Tuesday morning, and the game's on Thursday. Yeah. So, but Stevie still had these little ideas, which I like, and he's always, it feels as if he's trying to learn something new all the time. Yeah. And no, he's been a big part of my life. You know, I must admit. It's been terrific.
Onwards.
Terrific, and they're doing fine in Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely.
He and the little manager Gary Gary Smith. Do you know Gary?
I've come across him when he was at Stevenage.
Gary was a player when I was at Wickham.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew him as a manager. Yeah.
Gary just kicked all round him. You know, he kicked everything in sight, honestly. And now he wants to play. He wants to play now. This is amazing. He likes to play football now. When Gary just did, Gary would wait on players coming so that he could go over the top to them. You know, and this was not
opposite to Guppy then.
It's absolutely, and this was not what Wycombe Wanderers was about, you know. So we had to kind of chastise him. He never really broke into the side. He played some games for me, but well done to him.
Yeah,
he went on. Well. He did well.
Yeah, I did well out there. So.
Yeah.
You just touched on it there quickly, and again, it would be remiss to. I know it's primarily about Leicester, this chat we're having, but the opportunity arose to play for Northern Ireland, manage Republic of Ireland.
I never felt it was that strange. A couple of things. One,
you didn't come across like that.
No, well. When I was a player at Northern Ireland, I was the first Catholic captain of the side. Yeah. You know, so that kind of. Right. and of course I was at the time when the troubles in Northern Ireland were absolutely rife at the time. So it didn't go down all that fantastically well in a number of quarters. But the manager Billy Bingham said, "Listen, if we start winning football matches, you know, people will forget about it."
Coming back to that,
absolutely. So, and as it turns out, and that was really obviously the 1982 where we reached the quarter-final, beating Spain out there. Great old days. Okay, so fast forward then to me going to Celtic and then becoming manager of the Republic of Ireland. But there's a big Celtic connection with the Republic of Ireland. So going to become manager of the Republic of Ireland, I never felt was going to be a problem for me. You know, never felt it. Also because, as I said to you, that the roots of Celtic are actually from Ireland itself. So that wasn't. That never was a real problem. So where are you seeing where it might have been?
No, well, listen, from an uneducated point of view, I'd say people like myself might have perceived it as a possible issue. Yeah. But for the reasons you just said.
Yes. No, it wasn't.
Why it wasn't so much because it didn't seem controversial at the time. It seemed sort of a natural fit. Yeah. And also because of your managerial experience.
Yeah, I think that would have been more than anything else.
Yeah.
At the time.
On top of everything, I think they were great, happy for you to be on board, weren't they?
I think that, and over a period of 30 years, you know, life changes. You know, some things. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that everything changes, but something. I think there's more acceptance of things like that there now.
Is that the answer you were looking for, Matt?
Yeah, pretty much, Gerald. But again,
you could have asked me that, and I'd have said, "Don't ask him that," because they asked, but you didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's not a problem. Don't ask, you don't find out, do you? But a relatively successful period as well, wasn't it? Qualification.
We qualified for the Euros. I mean, the Republic of Ireland and the North of Ireland don't qualify for too many competitions.
Not too many. No.
So to do that there was really great. I mean, the night that we beat Germany, who were the world champions in Dublin, was terrific. Shane Long scores the goal, and then we go to France and beat Italy to get through to the second stages of the competition. That was Robbie Brady scores this header of a goal, and so fantastic experiences. And I can imagine. What it was like for the likes of Jack Charlton, who really started everything off with the Republic of Ireland, the big crowds that were coming to watch the games. So, again, it's getting back to winning football matches, and we were able to win a few. I didn't cultivate a great relationship with the Irish journalists, you know. No, and so I feel at times, maybe it's just me, as if they actually are trying to obliterate our time there, as if just pass over it, as if it never happened. Yeah. But anyway, let's get on with it. We'll do it.
Do you miss the management game?
Yes, I do, Gerry. I miss management, but I will always miss it. I will always miss it, honestly. And I do think there is a thing. I think ageism plays a part, not only in football management, in life. Although Roy Hodgson's
still
miles,
going.
but Roy knows the Crystal Palace people, so I think there's an advantage there. Yes, I think that if there was an opportunity to come up, would I think of? There's no such thing as a perfect job. It never has been.
Right.
But would I consider something? I don't know. At least if it was only for my daughter to change her mind, because my daughter says, "Dad, everybody thinks you're dead." So from that viewpoint, even just to change her mind or something like that, I know. Hey, I should put a job.
Yeah.
Put a job. You know, where is it? Well, it's in Australia, but it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm managing. So I would consider, but I don't put myself out, and you have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. This idea that I think, so somebody could actually say that I'm living in the past, because when I was managing successfully at the time, jobs were coming to me.
The phone was never.
The phone was there. Yeah,
always
absolutely.
going, yeah.
So I am now the old actor who's not getting a part anymore.
Right.
Please, I have to make the phone calls.
Right.
My daughter said, "You've got to do it, Dad. You've got to do it." So I haven't. I'm doing some sort of. I do punditry work at this minute, which I kind of enjoy, I must admit, and you know, so.
You got your book as well.
Pardon? I've written the book. I wrote it myself, which was really nice. You know, honestly.
You did that all yourself, did you?
I did it. Yeah.
How long did that take you to complete?
Probably all told maybe about 6 months, perhaps. You know.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was thinking even longer, perhaps. If
I was sent up to the room, like you mentioned about the naughty schoolboy. I was sent up to the room by my wife and daughters, who would, and they're not living with me, but they would come over, and I couldn't leave the room until I'd done X number of words or something, believe it or not, honestly. So, and it was all in longhand, you know, sticking it down in longhand.
Yeah.
So I've got, which, and as my
Pages
daughter said,
and pages
Daddy,
and pages.
there's easier ways of doing this, but I enjoyed it because that was a bit of fun. I don't know.
a recent new addition, is it okay to mention about at TalkSport?
Yes, all right. Yeah, I'm doing.
Amongst other things.
Yes, I'm down to do a certain number of programs for them for the course of the season. You know, so and yeah.
You and Simon Jordan.
And I'm working with Simon, and then I'm doing some sort of. I do so. They've asked me to do. Would I do some co-commentary?
I do look forward to listening to you and Simon Jordan and Jim White in particular.
Yeah, we'll have a bit of fun.
That could be interesting listening.
Yeah. So.
Well, Martin.
Listen, honestly, lads,
That's
it's
been an
great.
absolute
No,
pleasure.
it's great. We probably didn't even touch on anything, but
There's plenty more we could have spoken about.
Lovely to see you, both of you. Genuinely, really.
Thank
nice.
you very much for coming
Not
in.
at all.
Speaking
It's
to us
honestly,
today.
Gerry, absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
And
cheers,
you
Martin.
did great, and
Thank
you,
you.
big lad.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming along, and thank you
No,
very much for
I
the
have to
influence on
say-
our careers as well.
Yes.
No, you see, I think it works both ways.
Maybe.
I think it works both ways. You don't do well, I don't do well. And that's where, when Matty said, you know, how do you, adapt yourself to the players, I think that, I always think, first thing, they have to play, and they have to play well. I have to try and create some sort of an environment, for want of better words, for them to do it. And they need a bit of trust in me, and I do go overboard if somebody does really well.
Yeah.
But I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that, because I feel if I praise someone and the praise is genuine, it's actually genuine, and it's in the dressing room where all the players can hear it, then I can afford to criticize the player then, if that's the case, you know?
Well,
as long as I
was the recipient of both
you got both.
emotions, that's for sure.
With respect, you would have got more praise than criticism.
I was luckier than most, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Whereas you... Only kidding.
No.
We'll end on that note, shall
You
we?
did super for me. You did super, and I'm delighted that you came. That's the point.
Yes.
Because you had other
took a
offers.
while.
You know?
It took a while. But we got there in the
Good
end.
place to
You
finish.
should be proud of him anyway. I'm sure you are. As he is of you, I'm quite sure.